How's it going, guys? AnxiousCynic back again with something a little bit different this week. I didn't have time to get the tutorial that I'm working on put together, so I thought I'd tackle a topic this week that has been on my mind for quite a while, and I've been intending to make this video for a while, and I just never got around to it. How to improve your animations, how to improve your videos, things that you can do just from more or less a philosophical standpoint to increase your skills and to just up the content quality of your animations and, maybe your videos in general. So I've gotten a lot of comments that ask me, how do you get good at Mine-imator? How do you improve your animation? All this kind of stuff. Well, there's a few universal things that I would say go into that. One is watch tutorials. And of course, I'm not saying this just because I make tutorials. Like anyone you watch, whoever helps you, whatever tutorials you find helpful, don't stick to just one person. Like whoever is making something helpful, watch those tutorials and rewatch them. Because a lot of times when I'm trying to learn something, I'll go back and rewatch the same tutorial or at least parts of it over and over, trying to, practice it while I'm watching the tutorials and whatnot to really solidify that information in your mind so that you can use it and kind of expand on it as your experience increases and you progress and things like that. So I highly recommend watching tutorials, not even just once, but multiple times, and practicing those techniques from the tutorials over and over, and really trying to find out how to realistically and practically implement those tools and that information into your workflow. The second thing is pretty much related to animation, but maybe not in the way that you would think. And this is a suggestion that I've given multiple people over the course of time here that I've done tutorials and whatnot, and that is to practice the program. It doesn't matter whether you're using Mine-imator or Blender or Cinema 4D or whatever it is. Practice by making still images, whether it's thumbnails, as you can see in the background video here. I'm making a thumbnail for my great Minecraft Let's Play. Make thumbnails for your videos, make desktop backgrounds, whatever the case may be, whatever you want to make still images, and you will learn a lot about how to import things and how to arrange things and how to compose the shots, your camera angles and whatnot. You'll learn about how to animate characters just by posing them into these still positions. You will learn a lot and you won't be burdened by trying to make it move and trying to make it look good and all this kind of stuff. It'll really help you to get familiar with the software that you're using and all that good stuff. So I highly recommend practice by making still images. And then you'll find later on that once you feel prepared to make an animation, that you're much more familiar with the software and much more capable of achieving things that, like the ideas that you have when you go to do them. The third tip I would give is to make content consistently. Like whatever you can do, as much time as you can spend on it, spend as much time as possible doing what it is you want to do, whether that's actual animation or still images or whatever you're doing. Do it as often as possible. The basic philosophy you want to implement here is to just produce a high volume of work, because you'll be making progress whether you realize it or not. And the more you work, then the more progress you'll make in a shorter amount of time. You just want to do as much as possible. Don't get bogged down in the details of whether it's good or not or any of that stuff. Just come up with an idea, do it, and move on to the next project, and just do that as often and as much as possible, and you will learn a lot in that process. And my next point would be to experiment and try new things, and this kind of goes back to the working on things and making consistent content. Do things that you wouldn't normally think to do. Watch someone else's content, get inspired, whatever the case may be, and find different types of projects to do that are kind of out of the ordinary for you to kind of push your limits and your envelopes and whatnot. And you'll find that you learn a lot of different techniques and new skills and new tools at your disposal to make the projects that you are really passionate about eventually. You'll make them more effectively because you've expanded your horizon into different types of projects and different types of animation or whatever, the field may be. Then you've experimented with all kinds of different things, and you can apply all of that knowledge and all those tools to the projects that you really want to do. So another thing I've gotten is, how do you come up with ideas for animations? How do you come up with ideas for videos and whatnot? Well, I'm not really the most creative person when it comes to that stuff. I'm not really the most I just have ideas pouring out of my head and I can't make them all or whatever. I do get a lot of ideas, but a lot of times I don't end up making anything out of them. But basically what I do is just watch other stuff. Like sometimes I'll just spontaneously come up with something, but a lot of times you'll get inspired by watching something else. Watch movies, watch cartoons, watch other people's animations, like whatever you're into. Just watch a lot of different things and listen to music and all kinds of things, like anywhere that you draw inspiration from. And just try to figure out, like, how would I do that? Like, what would I want to make if I made a movie like that, or if I did an animation like that? Or maybe there's only one part. Maybe you watch an animation that's about Minecraft, and Steve is going and he mines a diamond, and it turns out to be a rabbit or something. Well, you can just take that idea, like Steve mines something and it becomes something else, and then maybe you make an animation about Steve mining, and he's got a mine cart and he's going through tunnels and things like that. It's just whatever inspires you to make something. Obviously, I wouldn't suggest that you copy those ideas or anything. I highly recommend being original and making your own thing, but sometimes you can kind of take an idea and make your version of it. And that can really contribute to making a higher volume of work, is just coming up with any random idea and trying to find a way that you would make an animation out of it. And my final note, this is kind of a general rule for videos, but especially in the Minecraft animation community that I've seen, or even the Let's Play community and whatnot, I would recommend, this is my personal recommendation here, is don't use intros. Now, I know a lot of you guys love intros, and that seems to be something that a lot of kids and or newbie creators, people who are new to content creation, whatever, everybody wants that fancy, flashy intro at the beginning of their videos. And there's nothing really wrong with that, but there are a few key things if you're going to use an intro that I would suggest. One is keep it short. You definitely don't want your intro to be any longer than 10 seconds. If at all possible, I would suggest making it 5 seconds or less, because people who don't know you, if you don't have a huge following, people don't really care who you are. So they just want to go into a video and see what you've done. And a lot of times if you have some big crazy fancy intro, they'll pretty much lose interest right away, or already get a negative impression of you and your content just from having that. Secondly, when it comes to intros, regardless of the length or whatever you do with it, don't use an intro for a short video. Everyone's made this mistake at some point or another, but you get so like, oh, I want the intro and it's got to be in everything. It's got to be in all my videos and whatnot, right? So you make a video and your intro is, let's say, 10 seconds, and you make a 20-second animation. So half of your video is just an intro. You don't want that. You want the ratio to be much smaller of intro to actual content. I would suggest if you have an intro, whether it's only 5 seconds long or whether it's 10 seconds long or whatever duration it may be, make sure you don't even add that to anything that's less than a minute long. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying this is any kind of like universal rule that everyone has to follow or anything, but people don't want to sit through an intro when they can see that the video is like less than a minute. So what I would recommend is trying to keep your intro, let's just say about 10% or less of your video, maybe 5%, something like that. So yeah, you definitely want to keep your content high and intro time low. And like, this is kind of a lot to go over with just simple intros, but it's kind of a thing. A lot of people have a pet peeve about it, and if you want your content to reach people and to get a good impression and whatnot, then I highly recommend you rethink your intro bias. And that's pretty much it, guys. Those are just a few tips that I had that I hoped to share with you, and hope some of you are, find it helpful or whatever, and can use that to improve your skills and your videos and whatnot. In any case, that's going to be it for me. So thanks for watching, guys. Once again, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. Hope it was helpful in some way. If it was, feel free to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe to become a citizen today. Share my videos and my channel with your friends and your family and even your pets. And I will see you in the next video.